And thank you. In the spirit of capitalism, I came up here from New York to sell copies of my book, Capitalist Solutions, and to make money, which is, as one of the customers here said, is the American way. Now, Capitalist Solutions focuses on the topical issues of our day and how to resolve them. How to resolve, for instance, environmentalism and the myth of man-made global warming. And man-made global warming is a myth, by the way. How to defeat Islamic totalitarianism. Few nuclear weapons, actually, is the solution to that. But I didn't say that. A free market solution to education, the question of health care, of course, a free market solution to health care. Also, the right to bear arms, immigration, those issues. And what the theme of the book is this: that is the principles of individual rights and free markets that resolve all of these issues and any others, both morally and practically. The theme of the book is what Ayn Rand teaches us in Atlas Shrugged: the moral is the practical. Only by implementing the principles of individual rights and free markets across the board can we resolve these issues both morally and practically. Now, it's true that we have to win the battle politically. We have to get the socialists out of office, and we have to elect candidates who support individual rights and free market capitalism. But at the end of the day, for us to win the battle to save America as a free society, we have to win in the educational system. The leftists control the universities, humanities departments. They control the government schools. They control many of the private schools. They have a stranglehold on the educational system. And one of the big things we need to do is we need to privatize the government schools. That is, in order for us to win the battle fully, we need to win the battle of the educational system. And let me start out by pointing out the proper name for the present system is they are government schools. The term public schools is a euphemism. These are schools run by a coercive state, taxing people, stealing people's money and forcing students to attend them. These are government schools. Thousands of years ago, the great Chinese philosopher Confucius said, "See to it that things are called by their right names." This is a more than purely semantic significance. We have to point out the essence of the current system, that it is a coercive, government-enforced system, which is financed by theft, and of course, whose students have to be dragged compulsively into the classrooms. It's desperately urgent that we privatize this system. Now, I only have a few minutes. I can't go through the whole chapter on privatizing the government schools, never mind all the issues in the book. But I do want to deal with one critical canard or widespread lie of the left. And that is, they've been telling us for decades that the reason we have government schools in this country is that prior to the imposition of government schools in the 1850s, the literacy rates in America were very low and the educational rates were very low. The technical word for such a claim is it's bullshit. This is a canard. It is a widespread lie. And I'm just going to give you one section from the chapter on education in Capitalist Solutions on the history here. Prior to the mid-19th century, government schools did not exist in America. All schools were private, and education was widespread and outstanding. For example, in the Middle Atlantic colonies during the pre-revolutionary period, professional educators established numerous schools to satisfy the demand for education. Philadelphia, for example, boasted schools for every subject and interest. Between 1740 and 1776, 125 private schoolmasters advertised their services in the city's newspapers. And this is a day when Philadelphia's population was tiny compared to today. Professional educators provided mentoring services in English, contemporary foreign languages, science, and a wide variety of other topics. Children who grew to be such brilliant scientists, writers, and statesmen as Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington received their education at home or in private schools. As to higher education, by the late 18th century founding of this country, 6 private universities operated in the colonies. Yale, the College of New Jersey, which became Princeton, the College of Philadelphia, which became Penn, Dartmouth, Queens College, which became Rutgers, and Rhode Island College, which became Brown. All of them privately owned and privately operated, and providing superb higher education. Predictably, the educational results of such a free market in America was superb. The literacy levels of revolutionary America were remarkably high. For example, Thomas Paine's book, Common Sense, which is written in plain style, but which enunciates sophisticated political principles. I'm a philosophy professor. A lot of my students, 21 and 22-year-old college juniors and seniors, I don't think could fully understand Common Sense, which is a sad truth. Common Sense sold 120,000 copies to a free population of 2.4 million in the colonies. That is akin to selling 10 million copies today. Wouldn't I love to see Thomas Paine's Common Sense sell 10 million copies today? Almost as much as I would love to see Andrew Bernstein's Capitalism solution sell 10 million copies today. Early in the 19th century, Walter Scott's novels, Ivanhoe, Waverley, and Rob Roy, some of Walter Scott's other books. Between 1818 and 1823, the U.S. population was under 20 million. Walter Scott's novels in that time period sold 5 million copies, which is equivalent to selling 60 million copies today. And those of you who had to read Ivanhoe in high school, have read any of Walter Scott's books, know that they are not easy reading. Similarly, for James Fenimore Cooper's Deerslayer and Last of the Mohegans, also not easy reading. Fenimore Cooper's novels also sold millions of copies in early 19th century America. This is what the American public was reading in the early 19th century, prior to the imposition of government schooling in 1850. The Mcguffey Readers were first published in 1836. They routinely used such terms as heath and benighted in the 3rd grade text. They used such questions as, what is this species of composition called? And gave such assignments as, relate the facts of this dialogue. These are assignments for 3rd graders. The 4th grade text included selections from Nathaniel Hawthorne. The 5th grade text, excerpts from William Shakespeare. As Thomas Sowell, the great American economist, author of several dozen books, as Professor Sowell points out, quote, these were not the textbooks of the elite, but of the masses. From 1836 to 1920, Mcguffey's Readers were so widely used that they sold more than 122 million copies. This is what the educational levels were like in America, in a free society, in a free market. Now, given the high quality of education in early America, it is no surprise that 2 renowned French visitors observed and reported on this phenomenon. In an 1800 book commissioned by Vice President Thomas Jefferson entitled National Education in the United States of America, Pierre Dupont Nemours reported that Americans received an education far superior to that of other peoples. Quote, most young Americans, he wrote, can read, write, and cipher. Not more than 4 in 1,000 are unable to write legibly, unquote. 3 decades later, Alexis de Tocqueville wrote in Democracy in America that Americans were the most educated people of history. Private schools in America have provided and continue to provide superlative education. So the idea that government schools were imposed in the 1850s because of low literacy or educational levels is a lie. You want to know the real reason why government schools were imposed in the mid-19th century? And it started in Massachusetts, by the way. how given that Boston and Massachusetts was the powder keg of the American Revolution, the Bostonians and residents of Massachusetts led the charge, for the American Revolution. They were magnificent in support of individual rights. And I hate to, as a lifelong Yankee fan, I hate to say anything good about Boston, but this is absolutely true. Boston was the hub and the centerpiece of the American Revolution. By the mid-19th century, how things had changed. Two reasons. First of all, many Americans, by the mid-19th century, many Protestant Americans were very concerned about Catholic immigration from Ireland. I mean, the Catholics are papists. They thought the country was going to be overrun by followers of the Pope, and it was going to be turned into a papist dictatorship. And the great panacea, and you people here probably know the terrible prejudice against the Irish and against Catholics during large part of the 19th century. The great panacea for the Irish Catholic immigration was going to be government schools with compulsory attendance, where the children were required to read the Protestant Bible. And many of the Catholic families were so incensed at having anti-Catholic prejudice rammed down their throats that by the late 19th century, the Catholic bishops in America demanded the foundation of a Catholic educational system. And this is the little-known reason for the widespread ubiquity of the Catholic school system in this country, was so that the Catholic children could escape being dogmatized by the government schools and being forced to read the Protestant Bible, which many Catholic families believe was dogma. Making matters worse, the underlying reason here was that many American intellectuals in the early 19th century visited Germany. Germany, of course, if anybody knows, I'm a philosophy professor, but this isn't a philosophy class, so I won't give you a lot of philosophy. But I'll tell you this much. Many people don't realize modern Western world, the modern Western culture is dominated by German philosophy. I'm talking about Kant, Hegel, and Marx. Now, the essence of Kant's ethics is that virtue lies in dutiful service, not in the pursuit of your own happiness, not in an inalienable right to your life in the pursuit of your own happiness, but in dutiful, selfless service. Hegel, one of the great political philosophers of history, argues that selfless service to the state, and you see statism enormously invigorated by Hegel's philosophy in 19th century Germany, giving rise in the 20th century to National Socialism or Nazism, and through a third German philosopher, Karl Marx, Marxism and communism. Many American intellectuals in the 19th century visited Germany. They studied German philosophy, they admired German culture, and Germany was the fountainhead of government schools. The German collectivism required all students to attend government schools, and the purpose of the German government schools was to teach children that their life belonged to the state. Their life belonged not to themselves, not to their family, their life belonged to the state. And many American educators traveled to Germany, admired the German government school system, and wanted to bring that to America. And in Massachusetts in the 1850s, that's when the first government schools are established, and that is the main reason on the part of American educators and American intellectuals for establishing government schools, not because literacy rates or educational levels were low in America, but because they hated the individualistic nature of America, the idea that your life belongs to you. They wanted to teach that your life belongs to the state, and that is the main reason for the establishment of government schools. On the part of educational levels, the Senator Edward Kennedy, who you might remember fondly in this group, Senator Ted Kennedy in 1990, Senator Kennedy's office issued a memo pointing out that in 1850, just prior to the imposition of government schools in Massachusetts, the literacy level of Massachusetts was 98%, a rate it never reached again since the imposition of government schools. Now, I submit if even Ted Kennedy could understand this point, then anybody can, about the superiority of a free market of education. Now, I know I'm running out of time, so let me just end with a couple of last points that I want to make. Why? What I said was, the book Capital Solutions is about how individual rights and free markets, these are the only principles that resolve our problems both morally and practically, and that the moral is the practical as the theme of the book. Why is a free market of education so superior? Well, morally, notice, the private schools don't steal your money by force to support them, and don't compel students by force to attend them. They respect individual rights. They respect the right of each and every individual, and this makes them morally superior to the government schools, of course, which steal your money and compel your children by force to attend them. Practically, why is the free market superior to socialism? And let's face it, government schools is a form of socialism. It's the socialization of the educational system. Why is free market capitalism superior? Because it respects. Why is it more practically superior? Because it respects every individual's right to his own life. And notice something. If your life belongs to you, then your mind belongs to you. And conversely, thank you. If your life belongs to you, then your mind belongs to you. Conversely, if your life belongs to the state, your mind belongs to the state. And what Ayn Rand has shown us brilliantly in Atlas Shrugged is that, one, the mind is mankind's tool of survival. Everything human life depends on is a product of the reasoning mind. Whether it's food, which requires agricultural science, or houses, which require architecture, or medicines, which require knowledge of biology, to a million other things. Every value human life depends on is a product of the reasoning mind. And two, the reasoning mind requires political economic freedom. It requires the principle of individual rights. Under any type of statist regime, your mind belongs to the state, and the only thinking you could do is that circumscribed within the bounds of what the state says is acceptable. Why is it America? Why is it in America where there was a computer revolution, where the internet was born, where men have flown in space and landed on the moon? Why in America did Edison invent the electric lighting system, and Bell the telephone, and the Wright brothers aviation, and George Eastman revolutionizes the photography industry, etc., etc., etc. Why? Because America is the freest country in history. Individual rights were more widely upheld there than anywhere else, and consequently, if your life belongs to you, your mind belongs to you, all of the thinkers were liberated to develop new theories, write books, create new technologies, start their own companies. This is why a free market is superior to statism. And if we eliminate statism in the educational system, you will see such brilliant educators as Marva Collins, who founded Westside Prep, and thousands of others. What's the economic principle? Where a product is in demand, money can be made by supplying it. In the United States, education is in demand. You will see thousands of educators, tutors, teachers, private schoolmasters starting up schools to satisfy the demand for once the government monolith is slain. Marva Collins started the magnificent Westside Prep in her own home. You'll see educational corporations run schools in brand new skyscrapers. You'll see people run schools with 3 students in their basement. You'll see every type of private school proliferate. Secular schools, religious schools, schools that use phonics, schools that use look-say, schools that teach evolution, schools that teach creationism, schools that teach both, parochial schools, secular schools. Every type of private school will proliferate in a free society, and you will see the demand for education satisfied. Where the mind is free, you see the tremendous advances in every field imaginable, and certainly where the mind is free, the most important place where it must be free is in the field of education. Free the American educational system. Thank you.